Hello and welcome to a Talking Toad podcast. I'm your host Teddy, and today I'm being joined once again by...
Hayden.
And today we're going to be talking about the episode from the TMNT 2012 Season 1, Episode 23, Parasitica? I'm pretty sure I said that wrong.
Parasitic.
What do you think... okay. What do you think about this episode, briefly?
This episode, briefly, was, I'm not gonna lie, it kinda reminded me of The Walking Dead.
Okay.
Just stay with me here, because of how the, parasite, or the virus, as you will, is transmitted between different hosts, or in this case, turtles. So, I had major vibes of the Walking Dead on this one for some odd reason. Something completely crazy, but I thought I found it cool with the Walking Dead. But yeah, this episode's is an interesting one to say the least. Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from with it. I'd say that this episode was I really enjoyed how they build up the tension throughout this episode. I thought that was a really amazing aspect of this one. And I'd say it's for like one of the first horror type episodes which they did for the show. It is a really good one, and if you just set up the later horror episodes up really nicely, I mean, if they do this with not actually doing too much horror type stuff, it really goes to show how creative they were able to get in later seasons. Okay, so yeah, we start off with the turtles just driving off to Krang Base. Mikey's a bit annoyed because he doesn't have anything to do, but then they get to Krang Base and they find a mutant wasp and they defeat it. What do you think of that scene?
That scene was quite an interesting one, because usually we usually have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle theme tune play first, then we get a brief introduction. But with this one, it jumps straight into the action, which really surprised us. Like, hold on a minute, did I miss it? But no, this which I kind of liked, because instead of like with the theme tune always playing, and then of course then we get the cutscene. I prefer the cutscene and then the theme tune, because it gives the viewer, like myself, tension, because when the giant wasp appeared, and of course it cuts away, it's like, oh come on, you wanted to see what happened next. So that was kind of like a little suspense pause, which I kind of like.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that I do prefer it this way, because it does like build up a bit more tension, as just like, oh, we see a big threat, and then you cut to it, and then just thinking like, oh, what's going to happen next, and then you get into it. I don't know. I think it's just I think it's really depends on like the whole situation that the characters are in, because like some situation I don't feel like this way that I did it would have worked, but in others I do think that maybe this time or this way would have worked. So I think it really depends on the situation. But what do you think of the Toes versus the Bug scene?
That was certainly different, because usually we're fighting against the Foot Clan, Shredder, Dog Pound, and Fish Face. It was kind of weird seeing them fight giant mutated bugs, and just seeing that was a bit. It was a nice change of pace, and it was a bit different. But overall, the fight scenes were pretty cool. And I've got a quote on this. I've really got a quote on Michelangelo's seals with his nunchucks. That was really cool to see him action.
Oh, and the last thing about the scene, what do you think of the Krang bug?
The bug, that was pretty cool, because recently we haven't seen many. Well, besides from the pulverizer being mutated into a giant blob, and of course apart from Fish Face and Dog Pound getting mutated, we really haven't seen many insects or bugs being. Actually, sorry, just saying that just makes me think of the Terminator episode that we watched a few weeks ago, and of course that is the Terminator, the cockroach, and the of course this episode. That's pretty much it. We haven't really seen any other bugs being mutated as of lately, because Oh yes, of course, spider bites. Yeah, but wasn't he a
Yeah, that
human though, or?
it started off as human, but got mutated with a spider. But that was like way at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I remember that, but I mean like an actual insect. Like it wasn't a human before. It was just it was just an animal. Actually, saying that, um, of course we had the cockroach Terminator, and then of course we've had the wasp. What about the crocodile? Of course, he was originally mutated, and he turned into a mutant, but somehow still remains conscious.
Well, I guess you could say about like the turtles as well. Then.
Oh yeah, that too. Oh my gosh, we're getting into a huge arc right now.
Yeah, we're really going off topic. Could you please keep on track?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, you were saying
That's all I had to say.
that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so with the beginning bit with Mikey in the Toll or in Show Racer, I found it with the Tolls that only in this episode, and like no episodes before this or after this, do they go on a Krang hunt. So I did find that a bit weird, but at the same time, I did find it a bit interesting as well, like them specifically going out to go stop them. So I thought that was like a really interesting thing to bring to this episode. Shame that they don't really do it too often or ever again. The Krang Lab, it would give me like a horror vibe to it. I'm not exactly too sure what type of movie or franchise it was giving me horror vibes from, because more or less all horror type things are basically the same, but like it just gave me like a 80s type vibe to it with the horror aspects, which I thought was like really cool. Then I thought about the whole bug thing with the host fighting the bug. I thought it was like an interesting fight. It was a cool one, but at the same time, it didn't really do too much, and all the guy up against was a wasp. So yeah, it was a little bit weird. But yeah, afterwards, the wasp does sting Leo and then dies. And Leo decides to take the egg back. What do you think about this scene?
Um, this scene was a bit weird because I just wanted to say when Leo got stung and of course the wasp died, all of that could have been prevented if Michelangelo just stuck with the plan.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, this episode could have been prevented if Michelangelo just stuck to the plan and if Leo didn't get stung.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking at the moment. But with that scene when Leo got stung, I gotta say that stinger, my gosh, was stuck in his arm, and then of course Donatello just pulled it out like it was nothing, and it was almost the size of his head. Like the stinger was that big. I was like, I'm surprised it didn't pierce through his bones because it was that big.
Yeah. Also quite shocked to like pierce through like the walls and all that when it's like fighting toes in the first fight.
Yeah. Like how is it not ripped off his arm?
I gotta say that like with that scene, I thought I don't know, it was a bit weird, but also it was like very gross with how like the end of the stinger was. With it almost was like a mini brain at the end of it, which I mean, on one side it's cool to look at, but at the same time, very gross, and I'm very surprised they was able to get away with that on TV, especially like a kids show and all that. Yeah. Also, I must admit, with the egg, is it me or does the egg look like a big jelly bean?
I was actually gonna say I was actually gonna say something like that. Why does the jelly bean look not jelly bean? Why does the egg look like a jelly bean? That is, I was gonna say is like, yeah, looks awfully like a jelly bean, a banana flavored jelly bean.
Ew. Oh no. Just
Yeah, banana flavored
okay.
jelly
Well,
beans are
yeah.
not my favorite either.
Good. Okay, well, going into the next scene, Leo decides to almost freaks out when Donnie tries to accept it, even though that's more or less the reason why they brought it home and all that. Um, yeah, do you have anything to say about that scene?
Um, of course, this is where we see the effect of the venom from the wasp taking effect on Leo, and Leo being acted out weirdly by it. And I didn't really have much to say about this scene except about Leo being very awkward and weird, and of course Donnie's just trying to do his thing, but then of course Leo gets in the way. To be honest, the scene was a bit weird because we've never seen Leo like this before. Like he's very acted out weird. But I believe that the production team could have, and the creative side of the team on this episode could have made it a bit more significant. Like at the start, like for me, it was a bit like, has he turned or has he not turned? But of course, it could have been further developed. But as we see later on in the episode, that he does lose his mind and lose his sanity and becomes, you know, whatever he becomes in the episode. But I wish there was a bit more development of his like transformation, a bit like in the early phases of the episode.
Oh, well, for me, I actually thought this scene was like quite enough to see that transformation in terms of him acting weird, and then for the final bit of this scene where we see him changing his eyes and going a bit insane, and then going into the next scene where he is completely insane. I thought that was enough to leave it to the imagination of what's really going on, but at the same time, just giving you just enough to know that oh, Leo is changing and he's going to be creepy, weird, and all that. I thought for me, I thought it was enough to know that he's changing, and I don't know. I think it's because I think for everyone, because I know that you you're Walking Dead and the gory stuff and all that. So I feel like you probably expecting a lot more from it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be your big problem with this episode is that you want to see the gory stuff.
Yeah, I kind of guess I was hoping for something more, but I have got to remember that this was a kids show and it's got to keep PG. So yeah.
Yeah. So in the next scene, we see how the turtles try to get Leo away from the egg, such as trying to give him his favorite pizza, watching his favorite TV show, and using his signed comic book as toilet paper. What did you think of these scenes?
I have several answers and questions for this scene. One, who in God's name would have a jelly bean, anchovy, and jalapeno pizza?
That's what I put down my one. It's weird.
When I first heard it, I almost threw up. I'm like, jelly bean, anchovy, and jalapeno. Like, who in their right mind would have those pizza toppings? Like, I couldn't bear just to look at it. Like, it was a pizza, but it had jelly beans that looked like the egg as well. And I was just freaked out by it. I was like, nope, nope, no. That's just. I was alright with the pizza takeaway, pizza Chinese takeaway. That was fine, but this just nah.
I think it's just the jelly beans that put off, because I know anchovies and jalapenos, they're I know typical stuff that you would have on pizza.
Yeah,
I think it's just the jelly bean bit. But jelly beans is just not something. I mean, in the 80s show, they got really weird with some of their toppings. They had ice cream, fish on there at one point. You name it, it was on there at one point.
Oh.
So this, I don't understand why they do go into a weird phase with toppings. It's not really necessary and just comes off as weird, not really funny.
Yeah, it just comes out as do you need help sort of type. Did the turtles actually need other types of food in their life except pizza?
Yeah, but at the same time, what pizza restaurant puts jelly beans on the pizza and serves it?
I just don't get it. I guess they're just paid to do whatever. It's like, yep, okay, that's fine. Jelly bean, anchovy, and jalapeno pizza coming right up.
Yeah. So what do you think of the Captain Ryan scene?
Captain Ryan, I was a bit weirded out by it because of the alien. Of course, he's under a control spell of an alien species or whatever, and of course he the alien where he just the alien kisses Captain Ryan and just ugh, that just it looked like a Krang, a green Krang kissing his face. It just wasn't sitting with me right.
Yeah, this is probably one of the weirdest parts of the episodes. I mean, on one hand, I like how it was like directly referencing the whole episode overall, and like showing that basically, how the Turtles' adventures are more or less the exact same as Space Heroes. But at the same time, that scene was just, yeah, it was just one of those type scenes.
Yeah, let's just keep it at
um,
that.
yeah. So, and then next one we do have Mikey using Leo's sign comic as toilet paper. My only question with this is how. Oh, no, I've got a few questions actually now. As I come to think of it, one, how did Leo get a signed comic? Two, where are the Turtles getting these comics from? And three, how are the Turtles going to the toilet? And where is their toilet in the sewer?
Oh, yeah, the first two questions I agree with you, but the toilet one, let's just not go there, shall we? Because it will turn into a huge conversation and a huge arc that will just blow our minds, and probably that's not a good idea.
I'm asking the big questions.
The life's biggest questions: how do the turtles go to the toilet?
Yeah. But yeah, what do you think of this scene?
Um, that scene was something. Let's just say that. Like, I do have the same questions as you do. It's like, one, how did they get the comics? Like, two, where did they even eat or sleep? Well, we know where they eat, but we don't know where they sleep or where they just do their stuff. But yeah, the third question, though, to your third question, I just tend to stay out of that region.
I mean, technically, their home could be the toilet because it is in the sewers. Um,
So, are you
okay,
implying that they go anywhere because it's the sewers?
okay, moving on, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, so after that we do have a Leo versus Raph fight. I must admit, I really did enjoy this fight scene. I would have preferred if it was a little bit longer, but at the same time, I feel like it was at that perfect length. I really did enjoy this fight scene. I don't think it was good. I don't think it was like one of the best Raph versus Leo fights, but it was a really good, short, simple fight scene that got from point A to point B, and was just amazing. What do you think about the scene?
Okay, this was actually really, really good. I actually enjoyed watching Raph and Leo fight. I don't know why, but this episode choreographed the fight, the brothers fighting really, really well for some odd reason. And like you said, it was just the right amount of time, the right amount of combat, and of course the impending doom as well. That just made that scene what it was, and I just really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, I'd say it's like nearly perfect. But
Mm.
yeah, after that we do have Mikey and Donnie hiding from Leo and Raph as they've been turned, and that's when they discover that the parasite. I'm just gonna say it wrong. The worm kills a caterpillar. Do you have anything to say about that scene?
Uh, Not really, no, but it does inform the characters and ourselves about what will happen if that egg does explode, and of course we find out later that it does almost happen. But for that scene, I think it was more educational, the side of things. You know, like a young child would be watching it, and of course there would be having a little education on about parasitic wasps and what they actually do. So
Yeah.
that's what I was going along the lines of.
Okay. Well, in the next scene we do have the B team versus the A team. What do you think about this scene?
Ooh, well, this this was I don't know why, but I just loved how they throw pots and pans uh, at Leo and Raph, thinking that it would do anything just to stop them, but clearly it didn't. But the fighting between the A and the B team was all right. I saw all the combat and of course them fighting together was pretty cool. And of course, I really loved the scene where Michelangelo managed to stop Raph from biting him using his nunchucks. And that was just a really cool element that I just took from that scene because it reminded me of so much of a scene in The Walking Dead where many of the main characters use like a weapon or their blade to stop the zombie from biting them from above and putting it in their mouths. And I don't know why, it just reminded me of that so much. I can't recall what episode in The Walking Dead, but there is episodes like that where the survivors would put something in the zombies' mouths to stop them from biting them, and I just really loved that for some odd reason.
Okay. Um, okay. But yeah, I'll just say that this overall fight scene for me, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I did feel like it was a bit weird where like Raph and Leo weren't really fighting too much. I know that they were fighting, but not in like their traditional way of using their blades or anything. So on the one hand, I really do enjoy this fight scene because it is more unique and more creative, with them like not being able to like Mikey and Donnie not having to hurt them. But at the same time, it just feels a bit weird because like even though they like technically they should be able to still be able to fight and all that with the weapons, but they don't. It just feels weird, but at the same time, it works somehow, and I feel like it works. And then, like as you already said, like the Mikey stopping Raph with the nunchuckers, that's a really creative, fun fight scene. But yeah. But after that, we do have Donnie and Mikey that catches Leo, and it's revealed that Donnie is being bitten. And then he unfortunately bites Mikey. What did you think of this scene?
Um, this scene was actually this is what got me off in the first place. Like how the virus is transmitted from turtle to turtle is because of the biting, and I don't know why. This is what set me off on the path of The Walking Dead. It's like how the virus in The Walking Dead is transmitted through bites, and it just set me off because it's like, oh my gosh, it's like a zombie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, sort of. But you can understand where I'm coming from, can't you?
Yeah, I can. I was gonna. Okay, I can compare this whole episode to Walking Dead, or is this like your last comparison?
Um, this I'm not too sure to be honest because it is very different to this episode is very different to The Walking Dead, but it's how I can contrast what's happening, and because I haven't seen any other Turtle franchise at the moment, that's all I can recall from how I can describe the scene to others. That's how I perceive the scene as. So you may be hearing a lot more. I'm just giving you a heads up.
Okay. Well, to say that for this scene, I enjoyed how in the background you have Leo just hanging there in the ceiling, just on the chain. I just love that little detail. There's not anything too impressive, but yeah. And then like I do. I'm not too sure how I feel about like the Donnie Bart and Mikey scene because on one hand, I feel like it's like really cool to finally see something like that happening and seeing how it is transmitted and all that. But at the same time, I just don't really have any emotions towards it. But I don't think this is one of those type of scenes where it can have like an emotion. So going into the next scene, where Mikey pretends to be evil. What did you think of this scene?
That was It was I'm not gonna lie, Michelangelo has his moments. I gotta say this. I say it every episode, but Michelangelo has his moments. And he comes in, acts all dumb, and then of course his euphoria kicks in and he somehow saves the day. Even though he started the virus by not following Leo's plans, but we'll overrule that for simplicity's sakes. But yeah, just seeing Michelangelo act all like um converted and all that was pretty cool, because I actually thought he was going to become converted and actually become one of the zombie turtles, as I don't know what else to describe the turtles as in that state, so I'm just going to call them zombie turtles. And yeah, it was a really cool trick and deception from Michelangelo, which I quite liked, because the deception tactics always work as a ninja, because that's their literal thing, being a ninja, being deceptive, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, I have to say that for me, this has always been like one of those oh shit moments. I must admit, like even after watching the episode, even knowing that like Mikey is evil, like all these years later after this episode's come out, this has still always been one of those scenes where it's like, oh shit, like, and not many like franchises can do, or episodes or movies can do that after you watch something. But this still has like the same sort of effect that same sort of effect which it had on me today that I did on like 10 or nearly 10 years ago. And I feel like for a show to do that, it is amazing. And it's still, must admit, this scene does still really hold up, and it's still, oh my god, I can't believe Mikey fake turned, and I still can't get over it. But I must admit, I do like
Definitely.
the next scene a lot. I must admit, I do like the next scene a little bit more. As I just noticed today, that when the turtles were sort of praising the egg, they did the T-pose.
Oh dear.
Do you have anything to say about that?
The T-posing scene was it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit cringe. Some T-pose cringe right there. But apart from that, I don't really have much to say about how the T-posing goes along. They were just like accepting their deaths as the egg exploded. Like, I understand that the T-pose weren't around back then, but now watching it in this day and age, you look at them as like, oh my god, they're doing the T-pose. This is cringe. But back then, there wasn't a T-pose, and they were just blindly accepting their deaths. So I can't argue about that.
Yeah, I think it just like show just how far like things have come like in terms of media, because like you're able to like see things in different ways, which I think is like quite cool, because I mean there's debatable for some things whether you should be looking into them and stuff like that, but I feel like for this type of thing where it's just like a little harmful joke, I don't know, it's quite cool and all that. But then do get to the next scene where the turtles find the bugs, and Mike goes in the show razor and blows them up. What do you think about this scene?
That was pretty cool. I really liked that, on how Michelangelo just somehow decides to go all rogue, like Rambo on the bugs. He just gets out the shell racer's garbage cannon and just blasts the bugs to pieces. And I must say that cannon is deadly. Like, if it can absolutely obliterate bugs and turn them into mush, that's like some god tier weapon right there.
Yeah, I'll just say for me, this fight scene was like really disappointing for me, and I think it's just because like we just had that like the oh shit moment with Mikey, and then the T-pose scene, and I just feel like we go into this fight scene where we didn't truly have any like true connection with the villain, so we just felt as though those just find the bad guys just because they're the bad guys without any true motivation other than, well, they're the bad guys. I mean, it was okay. There wasn't anything really too special about the fight scene, which is quite disappointing because this whole episode was I would say it's been like really good up till this point. But yeah, and then we got the final scene where Leo's talking to Mikey. Do you have anything to say about that scene?
That scene was alright, but I'm not gonna lie, Michelangelo is just taking up that glory right there. He's like not doing any of the labors, he's not doing anything at all. He's bossing around everyone inside. Oh look, Donnie, hand me a slice of pizza. Like he's just taking up the full glory, despite the fact that no one really cares, and despite the fact he's the one that caused the situation in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, no, if he was in if he was in his position, you'll be reaping the glory as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hypocrite.
Mm,
But yeah. Do you have anything to say? Do you have anything else to say about this episode?
um, this episode was an all right episode. To be honest, it was a filler episode in my opinion, in which there wasn't an actual storyline behind it. Sure, there was a Krang hunt, and of course, then it turned out to be like a parasitic little epidemic that the turtles had, and but overall, it was an all right episode to watch. I really did enjoy how the turtles turned into like wasp hailing wasp hailing zombies and all of that, and I just loved how Michelangelo had an episode again. Like I feel like this episode was revolving around Michelangelo quite a lot, and how his euphoria is coming in to save the day once again to save the turtles' shells, which I just loved.
Yeah, to say that. I have to say that overall, I did really enjoy this episode. I really did enjoy like the how they built up the tension throughout the episode, and I thought that was just amazing. And I do think that there's elements within this episode that I do feel as though that this show was like made for a more mature audience, then it'll be so much darker. And I feel like this is probably your biggest. I feel like like your biggest problem with this episode is that it has like a really good, interesting concept and dark themes and dark story. It just should have been a lot darker and more mature. Am I right in saying that? Okay.
Yeah, you do have a right in saying that. You do have a right in saying that, and I would love to see an actual. I would actually love to see, like, imagine in the Marvel series, What If, where there was like a zombie universe, but in the turtle universe instead. That would be pretty cool.
That would actually be really cool. I know that like in a later season they do like the first half of the season just on horror episodes, and I do feel as though when we get to that season, you're gonna be in your element of just be like, oh yeah, they did this. It takes inspiration from this movie. Oh my god, I love this because it does this, and this, and this, and this. So I feel like you just got like a little taste of things to come.
Yes, I cannot wait.
Okay, so do you want to hear some comments now?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so from Magma Striker, they put, I remember this episode. Very terrifying in a way. Seeing all of these turtles were becoming controlled by that thing. Also, Mikey is a genius in this episode, considering that he is responsible for saving his brothers. Mikey in the series seems to be treated like an idiot, but the moments of brilliance are seen all the more when they happen because of this. And yeah, I would have to agree with that. There's nothing in there to really discuss. Okay.
I agree with that.
So from Chum Mentamcat, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. They put, I like that it really did Mikey justice and highlighted his best traits. And I think that like that's like a really good comment, because I do feel as though that some episodes that focus on like specific characters, they do show off the best in the characters, but sometimes they do also show the worst. And I would have to say that this episode, as well as the one with Leatherhead, it really shows like the best parts about Mikey's character, where they don't really force too much false humor on him, but show him as like a really decent character, and shows that he has so much potential. Corey Bakugo, They put, I find it very interesting that this episode brings up one of a few exceptions to the rule of how mutagen works. Since in almost every case, whatever or whoever is getting mutated combines with DNA added to the mutagen of what was last in contact with the subject, such as pulverizer. The parasitical wasp and possibly Victor Falco would be exceptions to this rule, since there was no clear mix between the original DNA and another creature to cause the change. And yeah, I did reply back saying that, oh, what about Justin? They get to reply. An error has occurred. They put, it gave me nightmares when I was like 8. So the thing is, this episode never really gave me nightmares, and I don't know if it was just because I was of an age where this type of thing wouldn't really scare me. Yeah. Okay. Hey, do you think if you was younger, do you think this would have scared you, like this whole episode?
I don't think it would have scared me as much as other episodes would have scared me. But I must say, with the eyes, potentially with the black darkened eyes, maybe. But to be honest, now that I'm much older, I can interpretate this episode a bit differently to how I would be a younger version. But yeah, I think I would survive from having nightmares, but who's to say I wouldn't? Who's to say I will? But yeah, who knows? I'm not too sure.
Okay. So Freelance Wolf put the first horror episode, I think. I'm not sure if it's a reference, but their possession reminds me a lot of the Smurfs episode, where they get sick and infect other Smurfs by biting them. Their eyes were black too, although they hopped around and just said, nap. It's annoying when people say the A-team are weak, or that X-Toll never gets enough focus, etc. When you have episodes like this one where they are not weak and have focus. Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
The Lone Wolf and Club 789, they put, I liked it because it gave Mikey some well-deserved spotlight, and I agree with that for the most part. I think it gives Mikey good spotlight. There are some episodes, like we've already mentioned, that do give some characters some negative spotlight. Looking at you, Metalhead. The Midnight there, they put, it was the moment where the show finally convinced me it had legs. It was scary. It showcased the family in Donnie wasn't annoying as hell. Okay, do you think Donnie is annoying?
He can be, but not as annoying as Michelangelo.
I don't think Donnie's annoying. I think it's just like cringy at times.
Yes, that is. I can vouch for that cringeness. That is very, very much truthful, as many other episodes have stated in the past.
Hint, hint, Metalhead.
Mm-hmm.
Some 81. They put this was one of my favorite episodes as a kid. I rewatched it over and over again. I wouldn't really say this episode is a rewatchable episode, but I think it's like one that I would definitely love to come back to and watch again because of like certain things that we haven't spoken about. Lance William Muse, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong. They put, personally, that was one of the worst episodes of the series, even worse than the season 5 episodes. Not only was it a not Krang or Foot Clan episode, as a Freak of the Week episode, it bored me. Hardly any characters showed up, and was hardly played any important role for the show. No hate to the people who enjoyed it though, but I feel like every TV show has at least a bad episode per season, and episode 23 was one of the worst. So, I don't think this is one of the worst episodes from the season. I think it's actually one of the best episodes from the season. Do you think you say about this?
Um, yeah, I would say it's one of the good episodes from this season, but I wouldn't rank it in my top 10.
That's actually quite surprising.
I
Because,
know.
yeah, I'd say for this episode would be in like my top 10. But yeah. We've got Michael Stapel. I'm sorry if I said that wrong again. They put, I liked it. It had a really interesting horror vibe. That made me go, this is a kid show, and yet it was absolutely hilarious at the same time. Yeah, do you have anything to say about that?
I gotta agree with him, yeah.
Okay, so I really want to do the cast first, just because of how minor there is, because there is actually quite a lot of trivia for this episode. Okay, so Rob Paulson does Donatello, Jason Biggs does Leonardo, Greg Seitz does Michelangelo, Sean Astin does Raphael, Brian Bloom does Captain Ryan, Scott Menville does Crankshaw, and that's basically it. I would have to say that for this episode, it is very light on characters, and I'm not sure. Like, how do you feel about the lack of characters in this episode?
Um, I'm not too sure. It was a nice change of pace from seeing all the Krang, the Foot, and Shredder's minions such as Dog Pound and Fish Face. But I think what in turn the episode was trying to get out is like the new threats that the mutagen faces towards the turtles. And of course, I think what they've done is tried limiting what they can create. So I think what they've tried to done, and I believe they've done actually quite well in this episode, is create suspense and tension with the impending doom of the lack of characters, and making the viewer think about what's going to happen, and make him or she think of the impending doom and what's going to happen, because allowing the viewer to think of the impending doom for themselves is much more terrifying than what the actual producer had written for that scene. If you understand where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah, I have to say that I do like the lack of characters. It just gives them a bit more focus, and I think it does work well. But at the same time, it still just makes you like. It really does show you that this show does, or like tells, just need, or like have a really good supporting cast of characters when you do have episodes like this that like sort of makes you miss them in a way. But yeah, do you want to hear some trivia now?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so this episode was first aired early in the UK on June 15th, 2013. The Parasitica is in an order of Parastoid wasp. However, given how is the title of the episode, it's most likely the name Mikey has christened the wasp a monster. Donnie indicates that the Parasitica wasp died because he lost his stinger, but that actually does not happen to a real Parasitica wasp. Well, that's quite interesting. This episode shares some minor similarities to the episode with an episode from the 2003 show called Freak Comes Out at Night. And I must admit, yeah, it does share a lot of similarities to that episode as well, because in that episode, the main villain, he infects Mikey, and then it spreads to another person, like almost like this one. The only difference was that episode was in the future. And slightly a bit more. It wasn't as intense as this one. This episode also shares similarities with the 1987 episode Big Bug Blunder, where Krang accidentally creates a mutagen that enlarges arthropods. Okay. The parasitical wasp does not bring a pun.
Oh, I said I never knew that.
The parasitical wasps do not brainwash their hosts to guard their eggs in real life. Rather, they implant the egg inside the host, which hatches, feeds on the host's internal organs, pupates, and kills the host, either escaping from the now dead body or remaining it. Ew. Yeah, that's sort of put down this episode.
Very
The
nice.
shapeshifting, alien disguised as a woman, joining Space Heroes, is a parody of the Salt Vampire from the first episode of Star Trek. When Mikey tries to lure Leo away with Space Heroes comic book, the publisher label in the top left corner shows Lock and over Key. This is reference to the comic book series Lock and Key, which is published by IDW, and IDW is the one who is currently publishing all the Timothy comic books. This is the first episode to have a plot where the turtles deal with the conundrum on their own instead of any actual villains being involved. Crankshaw implies that the reason Leo is infiltrated with the egg is because he's under the control of a parasitical wasp. And there was one error. So when Raph, after the scene where Raph attacks Leo, he turns evil. There is some scenes where he's seen without his belt. Did you notice that through that scene?
To be honest, I don't think I did. No.
Yeah, well, you're not really missing out too much. He just didn't have his belt on.
Oh.
But yeah. Okay, so the next episode is called Operation Breakout. What do you think is going to happen in that episode?
Ooh. Okay, this sounds interesting. I feel like there's going to be a prison break in next episode, sorry. I feel like there's going to be some sort of breakout where someone or something gets broken out of some facility, and I think it's going to be like a prison escape, something like that, along the lines of a prison escape.
You are correct. Who do you think they're breaking out?
I believe they're going to be breaking out April's father, potentially.
You've gone and done it. Well done. You finally got the episode correct.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you got it correct.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually got it correct.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I was literally going off on a plane like.
Oh, I'm finally proud of you.
Oh my god! I gotta pat myself on the back for that. Oh my god, that is.
Well
I literally was just going out on a limb on that one.
Well done.
I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back. That was bloody well done.
Yeah, well, this little section's over really quickly. Yeah, okay. I guess we're done with that bit then. I think that's the fastest we've done that bit so far.
That is like record timing. I am proud of that.
As much as I'm proud of you doing it, I'm a little bit disappointed now because we always like these conversations where you try to figure out what's going to happen next time and you come up with something even more ridiculous for an episode. Huh.
Damn.
I'll have to wait until next week now.
But now I have more time to think about what's actually going to happen and the anticipation, of what's going to go down in this breakout.
Well, yeah. I'm glad that you have that, but I don't. Yeah. Do you think? Yeah. Do you have any? Do you have anything else to say about this episode?
Well, I believe I've got most of what I wanted to say during the podcast about this episode, but overall, this episode was a good episode to watch. It heavily reminded me of The Walking Dead with the zombie bites and, of course, the wasp sting bites and how the virus transmitted, which is pretty cool. Just seeing the turtles fight one another was very cool indeed. Just seeing how the brothers can be divided and united at the same time, and just showing how crazy things can get between them. But overall, this was a decent filler episode, and I would definitely watch again.
You have to say with this episode overall, I did really enjoy how they built up the tension. Did have some really interesting concept themes and ideas. I think were like really executed really perfectly. And yeah, I think this would be like one of those episodes which I would watch again. Yeah, so so if you do want to leave a comment for future episodes, then you can go over to Anchor, leave a voice message or a text message. You can go over to the community tab on YouTube or the YouTube video of the podcast. Where else can you go? You can go to Reddit or when I put up the post. You can. I've now started doing Facebook. So yeah. Comment on one of those. It will be read out. But yeah, this has been another episode of Talking Tales. I've been your host Teddy.
I've been Hayden.
And we'll see you soon. Goodbye, yo. Bye.
Bye.